Looking back on the 2019 NBA draft nearly 5 years later, several promising talents entered the NBA, from electrifying guards and skilled wings to players destined for superstardom the second they step foot in the NBA. Oh, and I almost forgot, there was this 7'3" tall giant that fell to the bottom of the NBA draft when he just might have been the most skilled player out of the entire prize pool. And his name was Bol Bol. But looking back now at all the hype that surrounded him before his NBA career, things have changed dramatically for mostly the wrong reasons. But what really went wrong, and is Bol Bol actually not even close to being the player we once thought? Well, the answer to that question might just shock you.
The shot. Oh, on the attack. Puts it in on the Bryant.
How quickly things change. And that's just stage one of the video. Bol Bol was supposed to be the NBA's next big thing. When the 2018-19 college basketball season started, everyone, including fans, scouts, and even casual observers of the game, were already chirping about what a once-in-a-lifetime draft the 2019 NBA draft could be. And a lot of that hype was mostly thanks to this slightly undersized yet dangerously explosive point forward by the name of Zion Williamson, who everyone was already projecting as a future basketball Hall of Famer. But just a couple of spots after the highly touted Zion Williamson was the 7'3" Bol Bol, who possessed a skill set unlike anything the world had seen before. And to fill you in on exactly how good of a prospect he was, Hall of Famer Tim Hardaway Sr. claimed that Bol Bol surpasses the skills of Victor Wembanyama, the top pick in the 2023 NBA draft. Quote, "I think he's better than Victor Wembanyama. Bol Bol has better physical talent and is more ready to play in the NBA right now than Victor is." Now, even though Tim Hardaway might be somewhere eating his words, at 7'3" with a nearly 8-foot wingspan, guard-like mobility, range on his jump shot, and athleticism to his step, Bol Bol was a rare combination of talent for anyone, let alone for someone that incredibly tall. Coming out of high school as the number 4 player in the class of 2018, Bol was projected as a surefire lottery pick after his inevitable one-and-done season at Oregon. Everyone was hoping that he'd develop into the real-life second coming of his dad, Manute Bol, who was, once upon a time, revolutionizing the NBA back in the early 90s. As a center, Manute Bol was well known for his incredible shot-blocking talent, and stands out in NBA history as the only player to retire with more blocked shots than points scored. And he wasn't just about the blocks though, as he did one time hit 6 3-pointers and a half against Charles Barkley's Suns in 1993. Oh, so that's where Bol Bol gets it from. In fact, Bol Bol was so proficient shooting the ball in college that he shot just over 52% during his final season at Oregon. And to put into perspective just how insane that number was, from the 2008 NCAA season until the 2018 NBA season, there were only 18 players during those 10 seasons to shoot 52% or better from the three-point line, with a vast majority of those players being anywhere from like 6 feet to 6'4", 6'5". A few of those players in that category were well below 6 feet, while a couple were just like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant height. But believe it or not, 7'3" Bol Bol was the best shooter of them all, while being far and away the tallest guy to pull off such a feat. It looked inevitable at one point that Bol Bol had the makings of something really special in the early stages of his collegiate career, averaging 21 points, nearly 10 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks per game in the first 9 games of the season. And his versatility on both ends is really what made our jaws drop. That raw talent has always been in Bol Bol. But unfortunately, a fractured foot sidelined Bol for the remainder of the 2018 season, impacting his draft stock mightily in the process. And so, once thought as a lock for the lottery, Bol Bol fell all the way to number 44, where he was picked up by the Heat and ultimately sent via trade to the Denver Nuggets in exchange for a 2022 second-round pick. When the Orlando Magic released Bol Bol around early July of 2023, a good number of people were quite surprised to hear the news, actually, especially after he just put together his best season in the NBA while staying mostly healthy throughout the 22-23 season. In the 2023 season, Bol was averaging 9.1 points, 5.8 rebounds per game in 33 starts during the regular season. He began as a breakout player, but His injuries caught up to him, his minutes declined, impacting his performance and consistency. And while he did display unique attributes, such as being a 7'3" player with agility and a three-point shot, his shooting efficiency dwindled over time. He moved to Phoenix, and his current status is still highly questionable, leaving those who projected him to become a superstar in doubt. And that's the next stage of the video. Bol Bol's career thus far has screamed underwhelming, and we can't help but blame Bol for his own downfall. See, when asked about Bol Bol's progress in Phoenix, three-time NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas wasn't sold on Bol Bol's potential like everyone else, despite the player's recent one-year contract with the Phoenix Suns. Arenas likened Bol Bol's talent to a beautiful girl with a bad attitude, mentioning that despite his undeniable potential, he isn't utilizing it effectively. Gil's a savage in his takes, we know that, but he was not holding back one bit with this one. Quote, "The same thing he brings to every other team, disappointment. Unstoppable talent, but he ain't using it. Have you ever seen a really beautiful girl? She's beautiful, got a bad attitude, right? She's not attractive anymore because of her attitude. Bol Bol is the pretty girl with a bad attitude." And while Arenas makes sense in one respect, what he left out was something that often plagues a lot of young but flawed players: decision making. While Bol's skill set is deep on all three levels, his court awareness was often poor, especially on offense, making it next to impossible for the coaching staff to keep him out on the court more consistently. But the thing is, this was a long time coming. See, back when he was in college, Bol Bol drew some interesting comparisons, like one NBA scout compared him to Kristaps Porzingis, and another NBA scout went as far as calling him a poor man's Kevin Durant. But the interesting thing was, there were early questions about Bol Bol that we perhaps didn't pay enough attention to. One scout said he's talented, no doubt, and I quote, "There's always been the question about does he play hard every game? How hard will he work to improve?" I mean, even at the collegiate level, there were questions about his effort, more on the defensive end, raising subtle red flags early on though. But coming back to before the start of his rookie season, the early questions about Bol Bol's work ethic looked like they were put to bed when his former coach at Oregon defended Bol by saying, "We spent 6 months with him, and the 6 months he spent here at Oregon, he worked his tail off. You don't get 21-10 by not playing and practicing hard." And look, even though that might have been true at the time, in just his rookie season, Nuggets coach Mike Malone said that Bol, quote, "just has to show a little bit more consistency from day to day and stay ready so when his number is called, he can go out there and play at a high level." And if you look closer at how his rookie season unfolded for Bol, when he wasn't injured, the man was primarily glued to the bench. Makes you wonder if the reason why the Nuggets moved on from him was because they believed Bol wasn't going to work hard enough, and therefore wouldn't be worth keeping around for the long run. And again, coming back to Gilbert Arenas' critical comments on Bol, clearly Gil has a ton of substance to his argument, considering that we are more than a quarter of the way into the ongoing NBA regular season, with Bol nowhere in sight, playing a whopping 2.4 minutes per game and averaging 0.4 points. And defensively, Bol Bol's imposing stature didn't always translate into a dominant on-court presence. While he did average 1.2 blocks per game, his defensive lapses and struggles in transition hindered his impact, allowing his opponents to still manage high shooting percentages near the basket when guarded by him. Despite glimpses of improvement and a strong start, Bol Bol faced challenges adapting to changing team dynamics and struggled to maintain consistency throughout the season. While there's potential, his overall performance fell short, leading to uncertainties about his future in the NBA. He appeared in 70 games with 33 starts last season, which was a huge step up from his 53 games played and just 2 starts in his first 3 seasons in the NBA, combined. That said, there's obviously still a ton of untapped potential in this still just 24-year-old who inevitably drew a ton of interest from several teams this free agency looking to shore up their interior with an athletic shot-blocking big man. Orlando's up-tempo style helped the 24-year-old Bol Bol emerge from his shell last season after he played sparingly for the Denver Nuggets in his first 3 seasons, averaging just under 3 points per game and just 6.2 minutes per game in 53 appearances between 2019 and 2022. Before he missed some time with an injury this past season, Bol Bol was averaging 13 points per game and nearly 2 blocks. Orlando's the first team to give him legitimate NBA minutes, and Bol Bol was a low-key most improved player candidate around the midway point of the season. Orlando was using him in an array of different lineups, and he began showing great promise in his perimeter shooting and ball handling, which speaks volumes from a player who had just 328 NBA minutes over his first 3 seasons. It was a tale of 2 seasons, though, for Bol Bol, because at the beginning of the season, Bol was the breakout player for the Magic. But by season's end, he could not find time on the court and wasn't featured in a lot of games. He found himself back where he started the season, a promising bundle of talent that struggled to find his place on the NBA floor. Look, the talent is undeniable with this guy. If only he could use it the way we expected he would. And with Bol Bol's contract of only $2.2 million last season, considering his huge frame and height, his enormous potential, and even his production, which in spurts has shown at least some value compared to what his minimal contract reflected, you'd think a rebuilding franchise like Orlando would work diligently to re-sign a guy like that. But clearly they had other plans. Sure, over his time in Denver too, there were glimpses of the guy basketball gurus and pundits called the next big thing years back as a high school and collegiate player. But I really feel that if his body holds up and if he transforms his mindset to dominate the game like he did in college, he can still blossom into an NBA All-Star, only going half speed. He's that naturally gifted. But we are where we are right now with Bol Bol, who's now on his 3rd team since being drafted nearly 5 years ago with little playing time and no improvement over 5 NBA seasons. It's likely hit or miss for Bol from here on out, but what are your thoughts on Bol? Are criticisms about his game and development inbounds? Does he still have a future in the NBA, or is he officially done? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.